to say to some of the young guys, time for you to step up and play. Here's your opportunity. Go in there and get it done. But let's be honest about it. When it's all said and done, they've got to find a way to get Aaron Donald signed.
That is the topic. I mean, we're recording this on, what is it, Thursday? I mean, that's the topic. I don't know how true that report was, that he was offered this amount of money and his agent was insulted by it. I do know Todd France is going to try to get Aaron Donald even more money than his other client got. And his other client happens to be pretty good as well in Fletcher Cox. He's also got,
right.
I think he's got three of the best clients to have at this point on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, he's already got Fletcher Cox signed to a long-term deal. I think he's getting close to $18 million annually. And then, he had the whole, there was the contract language thing with his client, Joey Bosa, who we know he's going to break the bank when he, it's time for him to get paid. But now you have Aaron Donald, who's like a different. I know Khalil Mack is also, the guy. I think it's more so they're waiting on each other to see who blinks first. But I think Aaron Donald is better than Khalil Mack. I do.
Yeah. Listen, they can wait on each other all they want. If I'm the Rams, I'm not worried about anyone else. I'm really worried about getting, Aaron Donald taken care of. Because Aaron Donald impacts my team right here, right now. And if I've made all these moves with the idea of chasing a Super Bowl, I want to chase him with Aaron Donald. That's the way to chase him, because he's as good as it gets out there, and that's exactly what I would do with him.
I mean, you're a defensive guy. Where do you see Aaron Donald ending up, all time if he continues the path he's on?
Oh, if he's on the path that he's on is where we're going to talk about him being an all-time player. We're going to talk about him like a Merlin Olsen, We're going to talk about him with a guy that's got Hall of Fame written all over him, and I don't want to jinx him because it is still early. But the way that he can play, the way he uses his hands, we don't talk about his size anymore, which is part of the reason he went 13th, instead of going higher, and everybody's kicking themselves for not taking him higher now.
The Lions, namely.
Impacts the game. Yeah, exactly. But he just impacts the game so much in so many different ways. Remember, he missed all training camp last year, missed the season opener because he came in so late, and then played the next 15 and was the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah. You've got to have him on the field. He makes everyone else around him better as well.
And I totally agree. And, I think having Aaron Donald allows other guys to play better. I mean, when you talk about a quarterback making everybody around him better, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, those are the guys that do that. But when you talk about a defensive player that makes everyone around him better, I mean, that's special. And I think if you're not able to get him signed and he doesn't play this year, which I just don't see happening, but, then it kind of, I know people would look at it like, well, thank God we have Ndamukong Suh. I would look at it like, well, now the luster of having Ndamukong Suh went from being a luxury to now it's a need. Now
right.
you had a chance to put two of the best interior defensive linemen in all of football on the same line with Michael Brockers, who I think is the most underrated player in the league. I mean, no one gives him credit, but he's, really held down that nose position for a while now. He's taken on double teams for guys like, a Robert Quinn or, an Aaron Donald or Kendall Langford or like, we'll
right.
go back to William Hayes, Chris Long. I mean, I've watched him. He has taken on block after block, double team, triple teams even, to allow guys to really get those one-on-one matchups. But having those three on the same line, that is what makes you different, because no one can say they have that type of line. When, you lose Aaron Donald, now Philly has you beat, because Philly has that guy by the name of Timmy Jernigan, who I call the glue guy. He really brought it all together, I think. That trade was just so smart on Philadelphia's part, because he does a lot of what I was just saying with Brockers. But,
right.
You have him, Fletcher Cox, you draft Barnett. I mean, there's talent everywhere. I know they got Nada. I know he's a little over the hill at this point in his career, but he's still a good player. I'm I'm pretty certain they still have Chris Long, and
Yep.
obviously they have what's his face, the guy that made the strip sack in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you talk about Curry.
Yeah.
Vinny Curry.
So
I'm not Vinny Curry. Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham, yes. The guy that every Philadelphia Eagles fan hated for years because he was picked ahead of Earl Thomas.
Right.
But no, I totally agree with you, because I won't say that he's the priority, and I think, as Adam Schefter put it best, the Rams aren't going to not sign other guys if they come to deals because Aaron Donald needs to go first. I think it's more so on Aaron Donald's camp that I think they are waiting for Khalil Mack, and I don't think they want to make a move until that chip falls. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. I think that's the way it is in the NFL, whereas, when you talk about the different leagues like the, MLB, it's just, if you're one of the best players, you're getting a 13-year contract now. It's ridiculous. And that's what happens when there's no salary cap. And then, with the NBA, it's like you're getting a max deal if you're anywhere near being a B-plus player. So,
right.
It's that, I think that's the unfortunate thing when you talk about a 53-man roster and trying to fit everything. I don't think the cap's big enough, personally. But I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, I think you've covered it fairly. I think you've covered it very thoroughly and very well. It's a tough thing for NFL teams. Try and shoehorn it in, and as soon as you give big money to someone, you're going to feel effects elsewhere. Now, most of the time, it's a quarterback that affects you, and luckily on the rookie contract, so they don't have to go there yet. But many people could draw the parallel to Seattle. That remember the team they had prior to Russell Wilson getting the big money versus the choices they had to make, not just because of age, but not because of salary cap considerations, et cetera, that maybe weakened them a little bit and didn't make them quite as formidable as they had been before. Because once you pay the big guy, and you have to pay him, you've got to take care of your quarterback. How do you fit in everything else? The Rams have that luxury right now of having a quarterback on a low number, and that's why they're able to go out and get all these other players that we've talked about and go for the Super Bowl right now. Be a little bit different when Jared Goff, if he continues to play the way he's playing, and oh boy, look out then.
Yeah, and then you got to hope. I mean, can you imagine, if the Rams were able to sign him to like a Tom Brady-like deal? I mean, if he were to do that,
yeah,
that would be the ultimate. I think that's one thing, I'm not a huge fan of Tom Brady myself, but it's for my personal reasons. It has nothing to do with, I'm not, it's not me not being a fan of his play. He's a fantastic quarterback. And he's a better teammate because of what he was able to do by, the $12 million. What was it again, Charles? It's $12 million a year, and then he gets like $1 million bonus, like just to keep the cap number down.
Yeah, something like that. He's always done a great job of keeping his contract low and allowing them to make moves to keep his team strong. It's been one of the great stories in the NFL, and probably a story that's not, publicized enough. It's not told enough about a guy that could be breaking the bank out there, and he's saying, yeah, that's great. I want to get a good salary that I do that, but I want to make sure I got a team around me because that overall success will bring me even more. Because remember, he's going to make it up in endorsements, all other things. And
exactly.
It's a lot better for him having 5 rings on his finger than getting those paychecks and then not having the same team success. So I got to give Tom Brady a ton of credit for having that foresight and that ability to do it, because your ego gets involved. When you pick up the paper, or nowadays I dated myself, right? When you open up your phone and it says, this quarterback made $100 million. This quarterback made $75. Like, whoa, hold a second. They're not as good as I am. Forget that. Go get the money. And he's never succumbed to that. He's always said, yeah, I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is, will my team be strong and can I compete for a Super Bowl? And that's what's been a big winning formula for him. And he stayed the course throughout, which is not easily done when you see some of the contracts some of these quarterbacks are getting, and you know that they can't carry Tom Brady's clipboard.
Yeah, and then, you see a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers who's still waiting to get paid. And, I mean, I think what really has done it, I think Tom Brady knows, they keep winning. So I'm going to keep doing this
Right.
because this has resulted in W's. With Aaron Rodgers, though, I'd make the argument, Green Bay only has 2 championships to show for 26 years of phenomenal quarterback play between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. So with that being said, somebody like Aaron Rodgers might want to actually start getting paid since, it hasn't really amounted to what it has with Tom Brady. And I mean, he's still getting paid a lot, but he's not getting paid. Now you have, I think Matt Ryan is the highest paid quarterback in the league now. So,
Right.
I mean, he's an MVP winner in his own right. But, with that being said, Charles, I do want to, wrap this up because I don't want to keep you all night. I really appreciate your time.
Okay.
Like, obviously you're a busy man, but I have to ask you because the NFC is starting to look absolutely terrifying. I mean, even for a Rams fan, I think Green Bay got really good to the point where I would put them in as a top 3 team in the NFC. I think the Falcons, I look at them. What do they have now as far as needs now with Julio Jones all taken care of for the time being? Where do you put, the pecking order and like where would you put the Rams in the NFC?
Oh, I'd put the Rams right up there. Look, Philadelphia is the clear-cut team that you would say, okay, if anyone can repeat, because we haven't had that since New England for a while, they can, because I felt like they, like the Rams, found a way to get better in the offseason. Obviously, motivation is going to be a big key. Can they handle everyone coming at them each and every week? Can you handle the weight of the crown on your head? But look at the talent coming back, and when your biggest issue is, do you get your quarterback back who probably would have been the MVP of the league if he didn't get hurt? Or do you go with the guy who won the Super Bowl MVP in the early going? That's a good way to get started. So to me, Philadelphia is that team in the NFC. After that, the Rams are right there with anyone as far as I'm concerned. All right, throw whoever you want out there. New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina in the NFC South. I think if you go to the NFC East, Philadelphia's a clear-cut team. Can Dallas recreate the formula where Zeke Elliott ran the heck out of the football and kept the defense out of Dutch? If they can do that from 2 years ago, they can be a little bit dangerous because I think Dak Prescott's about to ascend a little bit. Washington's a wild card with a brand new quarterback in Alex Smith. The Giants, a lot of optimism about rebuilding, but they were 3-13 last year, so it's going to take a lot to really get to that stage. Then out west, we've talked about it. The Rams are the clear-cut team. Is it Seattle? Is it Arizona? Is it San Francisco? Most people are picking San Francisco to be the second team. But like you, I think they'll get plenty of competition, and a lot of people have something to say about that. And then, of course, the North. Minnesota is clear cut right there. I mean, they went to the NFC Championship game last year, put all their money in and cash their chips in on a quarterback with Kirk Cousins. So the Rams, Minnesota, right out of the gate. Green Bay's intriguing as heck. Detroit's intriguing with a new coach. The big thing for them is, can they ever run the football?
I think Carry on Johnson.
They haven't run the football. Yeah, but I mean, they haven't run the football since Barry Sanders.
I know.
So are they going to figure this thing out, be able to run the ball and take some pressure off of Stafford with Mitchell Trubisky? I don't think they're quite there yet, but they'll be a better team with Nagy as the head coach. So the top contenders to me, Philadelphia at the top. Then you talk about Los Angeles, Minnesota, New Orleans, Atlanta. Not in that order, but in that grouping. And then can Green Bay get back to being who they were, who we're used to them being? Can someone else emerge from somewhere? Because that's typically how it works in the NFL. Teams we didn't see coming, we're talking about November and December going, wow, how about that? Jacksonville pulled it off last year. The Rams pulled it off last year. You get my point.
I definitely get your point. I think if I had to pick 2 teams that really emerged, it's kind of unfair to say the Titans again, but I think the Titans are going to be really good because I believe in Vrabel. I think he is perfect as a head coach. Just, his ability to get up those ranks as quickly as he did. And just everyone raves about just, the character and just the overall football IQ and leadership he has. And then, they got Matt LaFleur. So finally, Marcus Mariota is going to be what I would say unleashed. And I would say the same thing with Derrick Henry. As great as DeMarco Murray was, I do feel like Derrick Henry was held back because of it. They add Malcolm Butler. They drafted two great players